Welcome to the Estate Professionals Mastermind Podcast, a podcast for estate professionals who earn more, work less, and make a huge difference in their communities. If you get value out of this free content, be sure to check out probatemastery.com, where you can get live classes, access to weekly coaching, and valuable courses. To learn more, visit probatemastery.com. Now let's jump into this week's content.
Welcome to our Tuesday morning real estate coaching call for Probate Mastery. I'm Bill Gross. I'm a real estate broker and practitioner in Los Angeles, California. It's a mastermind call designed to help us as real estate salespeople and brokers build our business in probate real estate. Specifically, this is about implementing, getting to work, doing the work, listing properties, selling properties, getting referrals, and implementing. I'm an actual practitioner. I'm not selling the coaching. Theoretically, if you're here, you either have taken the program and are working on it or interested in adding probate real estate to your business. And just some real quick housekeeping, I'll give you a perspective of who we are and how we got here. Probate Mastery is a coaching program, probatemastery.com. And there's three different paths. There's a basics path that has some free programs. There's a certification program, as well as different courses. And go on the website and get all kinds of good information there. Free content. You can join the YouTube program and see all the other things they do. And then we can continue the conversation after the call on the Estate Professionals Mastermind. We have 7,000 members nationwide. Come here to ask questions and post content related to probate, look for referrals and such. And then separately, I host my own program, probateweekly.com. You can sign up at probateweekly.com. That's every Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific. It's an interview format. I interview attorneys, vendors, and various people in the probate business. And then there as well, I have a probate group called Probate Weekly, 3,200 members and growing. You can ask questions there. You can look for referrals. You can post your probate-related content. I'd love to have any of it on there. It's a way for you to get additional views and clicks and all that good stuff to build your business. So on this call, we want to share victories, challenges, solve problems, share best practices. The goal of this is to help us put to practice the things we're doing in our real estate business. It's meant to be participative. That's why we do a Zoom call. If it was meant to be a webinar, I'd record it, we would just play it, but it's meant to answer questions. So either raise your hand in the Zoom app or put a question in the chat box, or feel free just to unmute yourself and jump in family style, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. I don't see any questions already. I would start with those. Marie says you're new to the program. Marie, welcome. And when you say you're new to the program, have you started the content? Are you considering it? And this is your first stop? Or you signed up for Probate Mastery and this is hopefully helping you implement the material?
I don't know how I got here. I know I'm in with I'm certified for another program. So this is, I just signed up to see what it's about. And I'm an REO broker, actually.
Got it.
And so I just came here and I said, okay, let me see what's going on.
Well, welcome. And which program are you certified through?
MTI.
Got it. So Mike Torres, I know the program pretty well. And I would say, having been through that myself, I think his class is good and valuable, the time you spend. And then they sell data. The coaching is kind of limited, right? I think you'll find this, I hope, to be more real implementation, how to put this to practice, the things you've learned in the Mike Torres program. So welcome, love to have you here. And I started with Mike Torres, I want to say 10, 12 years ago. And but that was more of a one piece of the puzzle for me. Whereas when I took Probate Mastery, that was when I really, after that, went all in on probate as my only lead generation method. But glad to have you, Marie, participate in the way you can. Thanks for joining us today. And then for everybody on the call, feel free to put your contact info in the chat box, your name, phone number, email, where you service business, what county in particular and state, because referrals and probate, I know we all say, well, I can refer business anywhere, but probate you're going to find is more specific by state and particularly county. David Knight has a victory. First win, first probate listing, goes live tomorrow. Dave, I don't want to jinx it. If you have the contract signed, can we bring you in and maybe share a little bit about your victory and how you got it and all?
Appreciate it. So I started on this journey about a month ago. I did reach out to Bill, and Bill was kind enough to spend 15 minutes with me. Thank you very much. Did Did take up the services of ATL to get various lists for Orange County, Florida. And with my Mike Ferry training, what did I do? I get on the dialer and start calling. And got a lot of rejection and got a lot of maybes, got a lot of call me backs. And I got one, I need your help. Can you help me?
What was it they need your help with specifically? Do you remember?
Well, yeah, good question. So the mother passed away years ago, and they haven't paid the mortgage in some odd months, so it's in pre-foreclosure now. So we'll actually have to do a short sale, which I've never done before. So it's trial by fire here. I'm looking forward to this one. So it goes live tomorrow, and actually we're going to do an auction style. We're going to give it 5 days. I've listed it at $99,000. The house is a wreck, nice site, half-acre lot. We're just going to get the most offers and then have the attorney deal with the bank and negotiate the bank. And what we're basically looking to do is just get some cash for keys for the gentleman so he can move on in life and get the property out of probate, and I'll live happily ever after.
Well, congratulations. So a couple things. Go ahead, Marie.
Can I just interject? David,
Sure.
if you need any help and you have any questions, if you want to contact me, I can maybe give you some pointers.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what we're all on this call for, right?
Exactly. So let me just unpack a little bit of what he said. I'm going to translate a little bit and then kind of point out some obvious. First off, I would say one of the questions was ATL question mark. ATL is alltheleads.com. All the Leads is probably the biggest player in the data space. They sell data across the country for people who are looking to prospect probate leads, whether you want to call them like David did, call the attorneys, or mail to them. And they also have a mailing program behind that. And they have some coaching resources. The founder of Probate Mastery, Chuck Corbett, came from that program. And also the current owner of Probate Mastery also came from and still is a coaching resource at alltheleads.com. So they're a legitimate company, do a good job. They sell data across the country, particularly in more remote areas. They're one of the few players I think have a national footprint for the data. The second thing, just notice what David said. He got the data and actually called it. And so I think the thing we have to understand is there's no magic pixie dust. You can't buy the data and then print it on your desk and then throw it in the air and expect the listings to come to you. You've got to do something with this program. And David mentioned in passing that he is a Mike Ferry trained agent, which means that he's been told he's supposed to spend 3 to 4 hours a day doing lead generation, most likely cold calling, probably had some experience in doing that already, some success, I would imagine, in other areas like expired listings for sale by owners or cold calling, and applied that skill to this. Now, most agents won't do that. And you have to be realistic with it. If you are a Mike Ferry trained agent, like I was, that's an opportunity for you. If you're not, you need to get the training for the cold calling, I think, to do it effectively in the long run. Give us an idea, David. So this is your first listing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How much time have you spent to date cold calling probate listings that this is your first actual contract?
I've spent like 6 hours.
Okay. So that's a pretty good return on investment.
I've gone through the list like 5 times.
So what might it sell for, do you think, if you had to guess what the sales found? Not to predict it but just to use a number for conversation. If you're going to assume a number, what would you assume it's going to be?
125 grand.
Got it. So 125. And what do you list property for? You're in Florida. Orange County is that Orlando? Where's
Orlando, correct.
Okay. So Orange County, do you guys list at 6%, 5%? 7%. So I would, and then when you do 3.5, or how do you split it to the co-op agent? 2.5 to them and 4.5 to you. I can't calculate the number. 4.5 to you. Okay. So quick number then, 125 times 0.045%. Gross commission, listing commission will be $5,600. The way I evaluate that is I take the gross commission times 0.25 because you still have other expenses. You have your license, you have your MLS, your board dues, your signs, your
transaction
super
coordinator.
key, right? Transaction coordinator. So what I do is I take 25% of that gross and say there's $1,406 of referral money. If it was a referral, he would take it for that. And he divides that into 6 hours, is $234 an hour. Is the pay he earned, in my book, the way I calculate things, for that prospecting. 234 on an annual basis, if you average 234 hours times 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, if you did that, not to say that you would, but if you did, that's the equivalent of gross commission $468,000. So is that number above or below your goal for the year in terms of income?
It's a little bit below.
Okay, so we just have to pay attention to that. Now, maybe a listing referral, you might pay a little higher percentage. It's a smaller one. It's your first one. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying you want to think about your dollar per hour work.
Correct.
Because what you don't want to do is get caught up in activity. In the beginning, you might for 90 days until you kind of hit your ground running. It's unusual to get a listing that quickly. Good for you. You must have some skill. For the rest of you listening, it might take you longer to both develop the skill of prospecting and then convert it to business. If that makes sense.
I agree.
Did you meet them in person, or was it all handled on the phone or video, or how did you go from phone call to contract signed?
I had a 3-way with the attorney, and then just went over my unique selling position with all 3 of them. And I simply got do you feel I can sell your home? Yes.
It's a classic
Fantastic.
Mike Ferry question.
All we need to do now is simply meet at the property and get the paperwork done so we can get the process started. Are you available today, or would tomorrow be better for you?
Right. So what he's using is some what I would call fundamental sales skills. Those scripts are right from the Mike Ferry. And you need to have those skills to apply them. And so definitely worth, if you're a newer agent, I recommend Mike Ferry training, Tom Ferry training for the basic fundamentals that you apply to the selling proposition. I will say, just like David, I always tell the customer the reason we're signing is for them to achieve their goal. And then when we set a time, I always set 2 times. So like to meet today at 4 o'clock, or is 5 o'clock better for you? And I use a downswing, which is right from the Mike Ferry training. So good job, David. So you're leveraging your past training in the Mike Ferry business. And remind me, I'm sorry, how long have you been in real estate sales?
Sales with Mike Ferry, 2016.
Okay. And so is the rest of your business doing well, but you want to do more, or are you, part-time, full-time? Like, tell me your business up until today. Where was your real estate business at? I
have like three areas that I concentrate on. One is my property management business, which led me to $825,000 listing that I picked up yesterday. My next is buying property. Have multiple rental properties that I've collected over the years. But my first should be my brokerage business, because that's cash flow. That's the big bumps that you get, the big hits, 5, 10, 15, 20, $25,000 hits. And you can't get that in property management. Property management is nickel and dimes. Right. But it all adds up every month.
Got a question from Matt Harris, which is, do you have a script? Would you mind role playing with me real quick, your script on?
Sure, ring.
Hello.
Good morning. I'm looking for Bill.
This is Bill.
Bill, I'm really not sure if I have the right person. So my name is David Knight. I'm here in Orlando, and I have a turnkey service for families going through probate. And part of that is that I deal directly with the probate clerk each month to identify families that are going through the probate process for the very first time. And I basically help handle any tasks that you might have not time or the desire to deal with. And I'm just curious, is there any property in the state that I can help with?
Nice. No, not right now. I just filed a probate, and I think we have everything handled.
Okay, so you just filed.
Yes.
Got it. I'm sure you have a good attorney, yes?
So just notice what he did was, this is classic Mike Ferry sales training, which was I gave an objection, and what did he do? And if you listened carefully, we could replay this, or if you're watching a video, you could replay this. He repeated what I said, because if he doesn't repeat it, I'm going to assume he's not hearing me. And then he allowed me to answer the question. I'm sorry. Then he asked me a question. Let me go back. He asked me a question. I gave him an answer. He repeated it. He affirmed it. Said yes. And then he went to the third step, which is ask the next question. Doesn't matter what I say. You repeat the answer, you affirm it, and then you go ahead and ask the next question. You can just see the skill in his training coming through. So again, this is the kind of skill, kind of in a minimum, it's going to take to be successful. And the more you do this, the better. I would recommend a little, if I could make one suggestion, is you want to get to the question a little sooner if you can. So if you can tighten the script up, and cut out, I'm in the middle of reading Elon Musk's biography by Walter Isaacson. And he talks about the importance of shaving, down weight, trying to make the spacecrafts more successful, right? Because the more weight you have, the more thrust you need, less weight, easier.
More
and I would
efficient.
say, right. And so the script has to be real. It has to be the outline of a conversation. But if you can just scrape off a few syllables or words there, I think you'll find it will flow a little easier to you, because the more they're talking, the better off you are, right?
Yes, correct.
So
and any question-based script is good. Any question-based script.
Which means everything else that's not a question is bad. Right. So the way I try to think of it, if you look over my shoulder right there, is an old-fashioned chess clock. In the old days in competitive chess, you had 2 clocks, and you would push the button, and your opponent was running, and he pushed the button, and then you're running. In sales, when they're talking, you're winning. When you're talking, you're losing. So the whole time when I'm hearing somebody in a role play, the sooner you can get me to talk, the better off you are. So I would just try to take that. I'm not saying it wasn't great, and I'm not knocking the script. I'm just saying if you can shave a few pieces off of that, the sooner you get to the question, I think the better you'll be. Thanks for sharing that with us.
No, thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
Okay. And then, Donna, I'm not sure if your question is for David or for me. I think David only mentioned he has his first listing. So I assume, do most of your probate business come from contacting attorneys, calls, mails to the heirs? Everyone. Okay, got it. So Donna's asking for you to identify, where's your business come from? Does it come from attorneys or heirs? Does it come from calling or mailing? And I think that's really, you're asking, what is your lead generation strategy? So I can say mine is social media, really focused on attorney referrals. That's where I spend my time and effort. Do you want to come and talk a little bit, Donna? Do you want to go a little further with that question, or how can I help you?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out, I don't need to invite attorneys. I can find who has filed wills through a website that my county puts out. And I'm not sure. I check the obituaries. I cross-reference those with the PVA to see if they own the property. So I got that down, but I'm now starting to go through and see which attorneys seem to handle the most. But then we also have trust.
Right.
And I will watch when I'm doing market research. If I see when I'm looking for whatever, I see administrator, care of an administrator next to it, and they get to go on my mailing list. Okay. So I'm just now starting to break ground in this. I've done some probate, but that's because I've been in business 35 years, and people die.
No way. Are you killing them, or was it because of your business that they're dying? Why are they dying?
They're dying just from, old age. I've got a buyer right now that's 85, and he's slow about picking. I go, hope I don't end up selling his place as an estate and not being able to sell him a place here in Lexington where he really needs to be. So my business has been connections. And I have booklets that came from, I think, Note Care about grieving. And I will often drop those in the mail to people and say, grief is a hard thing to deal with, and most people would prefer not to grieve. Hopefully these booklets will be helpful to you.
Kind of, where do you do business?
I'm in Central Kentucky. I do mostly Lexington, but within 20 miles of Lexington, there are 6 or 7 satellite communities.
Got it. Yeah, the probate, by the time they filed, my experience is pretty much the grieving's done, right? When you fill out paperwork with an attorney or on your own, file it with a court, pay the fee, you're pretty much back into functioning as a general rule. And I find that people are more concerned about that than they need to be. We should always be sensitive. There are people who 2 years later are still grieving, and we should be sensitive to that when we notice those signs. But in general, I think I would say that we're more concerned about it than I think we need to be in general. We should always be sensitive to people, but not to worry about it. So thanks for sharing that, Don. I appreciate your background.
My pleasure.
Got a question from Sabina asking about scripts. So if you go to the Probate Mastery website, Facebook group, and you search in the top there, script, I did, or if you go to, I'll put this in the chat box, you'll notice there's a wholesaling script, there's common objections for prospecting attorneys, SOI script, this I talk about quite a bit. So you'll see a number of different scripts here by going to Probate Mastery and then search in the chat box. And I'll just take this link and I'll put it in the chat box for you guys to make it a little easier. But find a script that works for you. Remember that scripts are, and Bruce does some training on scripts, and I think he's a really, really good coach on cold calling and script work. But I would just remind you that a script should be the outline of a conversation. The goal is to be in a conversation, and the goal is to get them to talk. So oftentimes you have these great scripts that look great when you read them, and you feel like, well, if I ask all those questions or I say all these things, that takes away their objections. No, it doesn't. You want to get out the objection so that you can demonstrate your expertise, demonstrate your skill. I always feel like objections are like, a snake bite poison. You have to get the poison out of your body in order to live healthy. And so if there's an objection, there's a reason why they won't do business with you. But once removed, now they can do business with you. So you want them to engage with you. You want them to ask questions. You want to be prepared to answer those questions. Okay, well, we got a lot of answers as to how you lead generate. That's good news. I don't see any hands up or any unanswered questions yet. If you have a question, put it in the chat box. I'll try to catch it. Is chat script? I answered that question for Elvis as well. That's on the Probate Mastery website, and I put the chat down below. And I believe I covered every question. You may have, you're welcome to raise your hand, or if you want to unmute yourself and just jump in, love to have you. I'll let you guys put your contact info in the chat box. Good job. Go here to get more business. I literally have a referral in South Vermont coming up, I think tomorrow. So I know I use this resource a lot for referrals. I've closed 3 out-of-state transactions this year referring to different people, and that's an important part of my business. So questions, comments, experiences? What do you say to people that you know are not the PRs, family members, etc.? Rick, I'm not sure what context you would say that. If you want to jump in, I'd be glad to unmute you, or you can unmute yourself and pop in. But when you say, what do I say to other people, I'm not quite sure what context that is.
Hey, thank you. So I guess it's just, we get these lists with all the numbers that have been, and one of them, the top one may be the PR, and the other ones are the probably siblings, family members, etc. So when you're you're likely calling a sibling or family member that's not the PR, do you say just, hey, I'm calling about so and so's estate, and just I'm looking for so and so, the PR, whoever the PR is. Is that how you started off?
So I don't cold call, and I never, when I did cold call, I never cold called the heirs. What you would call them is either heirs or beneficiaries, right? These are people who, when you get the data, and Rick, where do you do real estate?
I'm in Greenville, South Carolina.
And what data are you buying? What company are you buying your data from?
All the leads.
So when you buy all leads data, what Rick's referring to is you get a number of contacts on a file. You have the attorney, of course. You have the petitioner, which can be called the executive administrator, depending on what state you're in and where they're at. And you have other people that are family members that are listed most commonly because on the petition for probate, they were listed as heirs or beneficiaries or family members. But in general, in probate, multiple heirs are going to get notified because they're entitled to some of the money. That's why they're being notified. Sometimes it's creditors. There's other parties on there as well. So if anybody on this call, prospects to those other parties, sometimes people load them in dialers and don't realize you're dialing heirs. I think one thing I would point out to you is that oftentimes one brother or sister or one sibling has filed to be the petitioner, and there's other ones that you're seeing as heirs that they've already filed their own petition and they're competing. And what I've had happen is that second sibling hates the first one. They hire their own attorney. They want control. They think their other brother is stealing from them. That's a pretty common case. And I like those because I can help them get better attorney representation more cost effectively, right? If you have good resources and a good Rolodex, then if they're not happy with their brother, sister, and the attorney that person's picked, you can maybe bring other resources to them that will help them, number one. Number two, sometimes their concern is going to take so long that they may not see their inheritance for a year or longer. And so I offer them to advance their inheritance and get them $10,000, $20,000 within a week. And I talk about that. So the key thing, Rick, is always, I think, find what their problem is. They're a person. If you're in real estate, in general, I would say you could also cold call people, but here you're on the phone with a human, they answer the phone, you're talking to them. Don't treat them as extraneous because they're not the petitioner. Treat them as an important person because they're the heir beneficiary, and find out what their problem is. And if you solve the problem, you probably get paid.
Good advice.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
I hope that helps. Okay. Sabina says, joining a bar association as affiliate, is that a good lead source? Sabina, it's a great lead source. I use that one. And I, as a result, started going to events. And now I live in LA. We have multiple local bar associations in LA. We have LA County, we have downtown, we have Century City, Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, South Bay, Century City. And then some of them have, the bigger chapters have groups within them, like the LA Bar has and there's a trust and estates division that puts on great programming. Now, the bad news is I find they can be competitive, that multiple realtors will sign up. And one of my rules is if I'm going to do marketing, I want to be the only person in that space. So in LA County, where there's already 2 or 3 other realtors marketing, I would never sponsor. I don't want attorneys to think I'm just one of those people. But I'll do other things. And there's other great reasons to go to events, to network with the attorneys, to learn information. I'm a affiliate member of the American Bar Association. You get their magazine, and then you can sign up for the Real Estate and Trust Division magazine, which is also very informative. So definitely, if you're looking to build business, particularly with attorney referrals, the bar associations, and I mean all of them, from national to the local to the committee within the bar, will be really helpful. Saida asked, do I have any prospecting group? I don't cold call anymore. All my business now is social media generated, and I literally have people call me and fill up my schedule all day. So I'm helping realtors with their business, and I end up getting realtor referrals if they need help on their files, investors, wholesalers, attorneys, of course, and petitioners. So I don't have a prospecting group. I wish I could recommend one. If somebody here has one, let me know. Daniel says the Tennessee Bar Association won't let affiliate memberships. I'm surprised to hear that, but I would say you might want to join the American Bar Association. And I know the magazine covers some Tennessee law, and that could create some good content for you. I don't know enough about Tennessee to suggest, and I don't know where you are, if there's a Nashville chapter or a Knoxville chapter. My guess is probably there's a couple chapters in different major cities in Tennessee you might want to look into. So the state
I checked with Nashville and Rutherford County, which are the 2 that I work, and they both don't allow affiliate memberships.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you there. I think you might want to find, where do attorneys go to do their business development? When I ask that question, most attorneys in my area go to bar association meetings. In your area, they might go to other meetings, maybe BNI or related kind of networking events, or there's a professional fiduciaries association. There's different groups. So I would ask attorneys that you talk to along the way, I'm just curious, where are some of the places you go to do business development, networking type events, and see what they say. But that's surprising that they don't have affiliates. I don't know why that.
What was that second one? The fiduciary something?
There's a group called Professional Fiduciary, PFAC, Professional Fiduciary AC. I don't even know what it stands for. And they have
Okay.
meetings. They have different chapters in different states. That might be another one. I would definitely look at the American Bar Association as an affiliate. Get the magazine. They'll report on tenancy law, both probate related and real estate related. Sabina said, "What other things?" I'm not sure what you're referring to. Clifford asks, Clifford Collins. Is this Clifford Collins, who I know through mortgages in Southern California? The same Clifford Collins? Like a long time ago, we knew each other. Maybe not. Clifford, you're muted there. I can't hear you. So he asks, what resources to use when folks need to advance their inheritance? There are companies, and I've interviewed them on my YouTube channel. There's multiple companies. What I found was, having done them multiple times, that advanced companies are like mortgage lenders. I don't know what your experience is with mortgage lenders, but my experience is they come and go out of the market. They're sometimes competitive. They get a little fat and sassy. They give lousy service, good service, then bad service. And they're only looking at their commission. They're not looking at my business. So I would refer them a client who, to me, is a listing and referred by an attorney. So I got a lot writing on it. And the probate advance company would just decline the file and not even tell me. And I'd call my client and finally get them 3 days later, and they're frustrated with me and disappointed in me to say, "Why? The guy you sent me to, he just said he couldn't help me." And I was able to get him financed to another company because I'm more aggressive. I'm a real estate agent, right? I can't really take no for an answer. I got to solve the problem. And I've done that. I did it a couple of times. And what I did was I spent really a week. I researched every probate advance company in LA County and identified 28 companies who had done one. I reached out to them. I called them all. I interviewed them all that could. Not all of them would even respond. I created a class on the subject. I created my own group called getprobate.cash. That's the event. And I have a Facebook group called Get Probate Cash as well, and made that a key factor in my business. So when they need inheritance advances, I just broker myself. I intake the lead, and I'll figure out if it's something I can do or not, and then place it with a company that will do it and get paid that way. And so I do make a little bit of money in the middle. Now, I will say you could do it on your own. I interview some companies on the YouTube channel that will be glad to have you do it. Some will pay your commission, some won't. To me, I do it because it's more about getting the listings and the business. So again, to answer your question, I pretty much do them on my own, and I don't really have one company I refer to because I just find they're all different, and they come and go, and they're aggressive and not aggressive. Also, I find that I can get them to agree to something by doing my homework, by driving the property, sending them photos, making the case for the valuation, things like that. Okay, David mentions he has a prospecting group at 8 a.m. David, I don't know if that's Eastern time or Pacific time, but it sounds great. And go to see David Allen Knight on his Facebook, and you will get there. Sabina says, "Is it PFAC?" Yes, PFAC. I said we're not sponsored, but do other things. Oh, yeah. So I don't sponsor events where there's multiple realtors, but I would sponsor an event if I'm the only one. Or I'll go to events. I won't go to an event at PFAC in Long Beach, which is a great program. You learn a lot. The problem is there's probably 200 people. There's probably 20 realtors. And when people ask what I do, I just feel uncomfortable even saying I'm a realtor because I just don't think it reflects well on me. And so I'll go to other places where they may not be to meet attorneys, mostly real estate investing events. Okay, so that's the other things I do besides sponsoring those events. I'll see the event coming up and I'll share it with attorneys. I'll share my notes after the fact. I'll post my social media. Hey, I saw this great presentation by Judge so-and-so, and I'll summarize it. There'll be of value to the attorneys I work with. The other people, they just don't do that. They're not capable. And I'll be able to offer some insight that even maybe the speaker couldn't offer. That's what I do. Okay. Questions, comments? Still looking for victories. I'll share with you guys kind of an interesting victory and then an almost defeat I had. I don't see any other questions right now. Feel free to raise your hand or jump in with a question. So I'll share with you guys a victory I had. I had a good attorney I work with, had a filing, and it was a brother and sister both filing competing petitions to run the estate. And they've been fighting for 6 years between them, in hearings and back and forth, just blood, wasting money on both sides. Finally, the brother, not the attorney I work with, the other party, hired an attorney, and the two attorneys were talking and said, well, we can find somebody we agree on to sell the property. And they both were going to submit a list of 3 names, and I was on both their names. I knew both attorneys pretty well. And they both said, yeah, that he'll do a good job. And there was a time in California, even if you have full authority, you have to file what's called a notice of proposed action. You have to file with the court your intention to sell the property, how much you're selling it for. Even if the court doesn't require it, the title company requires it in most cases. And in this case would, because you have two people arguing over the case. And so either you file and wait 15 days, or you file and get all parties to consent to the sale. And the other party, who my client had been saying, oh, he's just destructive and doesn't want to sell the property and wants to obstruct. Sure enough, we filed a notice of proposed action. Out of the blue said that he's going to object to the sale. And I asked the attorney why, and he didn't respond because he couldn't, because his client was being emotional. And so I made a case as to why we had done everything required to sell the property properly. We put in the MLS, we held multiple open houses, I documented the traffic online, documented the showings. I sent the super report that has all the people who had shown the property. And so I showed that we'd properly marketed it. I had a spreadsheet with all the offers we had on the property, who the agents were, the dollars amount, the link to the documents. And then I documented, I said, listen, the problem is the buyer who won is higher in the second place by $30,000. If the buyer who won backs off, and I think I contacted, they said they would not go through court confirmation, long discussion what that means and why. The next offer would be $30,000 less, plus court filing fees, legal fees, and about a 3-month delay. And I documented all that and gave a total, what it would cost your client. If they object, they stand to lose about $43,000. And I'm not an attorney, but my understanding is if one party obstructs, that comes out of their inheritance. So in essence, your buyer would pay the whole amount. He's not going to hold up the sale and cause both of them harm. But the one party would be able to say to the judge, they caused the delay, here's the documentation, take that $43,000 out of their side. And the attorney used my letter to help his customer come to the correct conclusion, not to object the sale. And we sold and closed escrow. And I got paid. So the moral of the story is, and I had the courage to write the letter out to the attorney. And I think so. I want to encourage all of you guys to really know the process so you can be more than most realtors. I'm not an attorney. I wasn't citing the law. I was citing the business because I knew the business real well. I'll tell you another story I'm embarrassed to tell on myself, in a sense. I had another file where somebody, kind of like any of you might, called me and said, oh, I'm an investor, not a realtor, and there's a property near me that's vacant, and I'd like to buy it. Come to find out that the property, the owner died and needed a probate. So I referred them to an attorney, you got the probate approved. For some unknown reason, the family just didn't take to me. She seemed very suspicious, very distant. I was very concerned about it. I was kind of disappointed. I thought I'd done a really great job. And she kind of said to me, well, wait, this other realtor in the area we're thinking of using. And I kind of gave up on it. I don't really like to follow up a lot because I want people to want to work with me. I do track all my leads. And once they got their letters approved in court, I sent her a letter congratulating her. By the way, I noticed your letters got approved. There's a copy in case you don't have it. If I can help with any questions, please reach out. And she replied back, thank you. I was going to give you a call. We decided we do want to go with you. And I sent the documents and got the listing. So that extra follow-up maybe kind of swung my pride a little bit. Having the courage to make that email is what got me that deal. So anyhow, that's kind of what I would say to everybody here is we need to be good salespeople. We need to do the work. We need to get our egos out of the way and make sure we're focused on helping other people. Okay, Elvis Huerta says, aside from selling probate regularly, what are some ways to know the probate sales process, to know these nuggets? Going to court to see some live cases, working with an experienced probate realtor. Yeah, those are two, Elvis. I went to court every day for years, a couple of years. And court closed during COVID and it's open again. I would definitely say if you want to learn the business, in most counties, go to court. It's public. You're allowed to go in. You're allowed to watch the judge make decisions. Even though many participants, when I went, there were more people in the room, and that was more valuable. Still learning is very valuable. I say at least spend a week, at least go and learn the process. If you go for a week in almost any county in America other than LA, you'll know more than any other realtor in the business. So I would definitely recommend going to court. That was something that Chad challenged me when I took probate mastery, and definitely worked out.
I have a question. If you go to court, whoever they appoint, do you give them some type of promotional material that you have? Do you hand them the business cards?
Well, I think you have to answer that with what's appropriate where you are and when you are. So today, most people aren't in court when they get the approval, but their contact information is on the petition. So I'd send them an email or a text, and the attorney as well. Hey, I see your client so-and-so got approved, and I'd love to help them if I can. I'm experiencing these matters. Give me a call. I did that. I was sitting in the courtroom, and I did that all day long, not all day long, for a couple hours a day. Yeah. And you're in the hallway, you meet people in the hallway as well. The key is to stand out different. If they think you're just another realtor, nobody's interested. If they believe you're an expert and create value for them, then they're very interested. Saida asks, how do I know the court approved? Because I track online. Most courts have some manner of checking the court status. I also subscribe to a service, but many counties have it for free. You can check and see what the outcome was, if they were approved or not. So in that case, I logged into the court documents and found out that they were approved.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, other questions, comments, victories? We got one listing that's new today. Great job. Want to hear about that being sold?
I have a question.
Sure.
So if I'm pulling my own leads from the courthouse, there's just a little piece of paper that they let me take a picture of or make a copy of, and it has the executor, the decedent, the lawyer, and the case file number, and whether it was intestate, testate, or muniment, and that's it. So should I be going back and actually trying to pull court filings? Will that have contact information on it?
David, what state are you in? I'm sorry, Daniel, what state are you in?
Tennessee.
Yeah, I don't know Tennessee's filings. Some courts have multiple forms and different informations on different fields on different forms. So that's something that you'll learn as you go to court. You'll figure that out. And then different states and counties have different access to court documents, either at the courthouse or online, or some have more available online at a courthouse, like in LA counties. There's things you can get at another courthouse that's more convenient for you. Let's say in Santa Monica, you don't want to drive downtown, but you can't get that on your home computer. So I don't know Tennessee and your county. I would urge you to be the expert in your county. I know you mentioned what county you're in Tennessee, but I would say whatever is available, you should master that. And I know that if you master that, you'll win. Like, that's just how life works.
Okay.
Does that
Well,
make
I thought
sense?
you were saying earlier that all the leads pulls the other heirs' information.
Oh, so in counties where that's available, all the leads will pull the heirs' information off of the filings. So again, I don't know Tennessee well enough to know. In California, on the probate petition to probate an estate, on there it has the family members and the expected heirs. And then I believe all the leads takes those names and does skip tracing, or whatever you want to call it, to research the phone numbers. And they're giving you phone numbers, not from the filing, but from their database or their data service. And of course, that's only, how good is it? Well, it is what it is. It's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. So you have to find out how that fits for you.
Okay.
Okay. That help a bit? Okay. So Michelle says, what's the service you subscribe to get those notifications? So Michelle, there's a few things I don't share that are really my business. I'm in LA County that I really don't want to train my competition. That's one where I kind of draw the line. I will say I do a lot of my own data. We scrape a lot of data from the internet, and I have virtual assistants who do that. And we combined MLS, public records, and with the probate court data. And I'll just say, past that, I'm not going to go past that as what I do specifically. Do you know a service I can subscribe to for Orange County, California? Joyce, I would say, first off, check the Orange County, California County Probate website. There's information there that I think you're probably missing. I would say start with that. Start with what's there and what's for free. And I think that just that alone will take you a long way towards where you want to go. Now, how do you get that data? Again, I use virtual assistants. It's time consuming. So I pay somebody $4 an hour and I get stuff done in 10 hours. It costs me $40. But if I get a good lead or two off of that, it's worth it. Okay. I use for virtual assistants, I use Upwork. And there you can find various virtual assistants to do various tasks. And so the more routine and basic the task, the lower the price. Mm-hmm. But it requires you to kind of tell them what to do. So I've developed the skill of delegating work to virtual assistants. One thing I use is I use a program to video. I use Awesome Screenshot, for example. And I'll take a task and I'll record myself doing it and tell them what I'm doing and send them that video as a training video. So I can take an untrained virtual assistant who has their own internet, their own computer, and give them specific instructions, and then they can do the research. But I also set up a separate credit card for them to use, because you can't give your personal credit card or your business credit card for those tasks. Share certain types of documents like Google Sheets, set that up for them to do it. So there's a few things that go into delegating to virtual assistants. And I would say over time, you learn it and you learn how to lower your cost and how to be more precise. But there you go. Okay. I think we're kind of getting up to the end here. I don't see any other hands up, and I don't think I see any more. I think I answered the questions, at least that I see. If I missed your question, go ahead and re-ask it. But I think I got them all. What you asked them for specifically? Well, anything I want them to do. Any data I want somebody to scrape. Look, I go on to networking events like this one, and people will input their contact info. I download it. I email that to my assistant and tell her to put it into a spreadsheet and import it into my database. So little things like that. Really, I would say, when you say what I asked them to do specifically, what I try to do is, my job is to talk to people who have to sell houses or people who can refer me people who can sell houses. Yeah. And anything else I can delegate, my goal is to delegate it. Now, if I can train somebody and then send it to them, then they can do it over and over again, then I do that. So to answer your question, anything that I have repetitive organizations, rosters, contact information, filings, things like that, court calendar. But again, specifically in LA County, that gets a little proprietary. So I'm not going to get into exactly what I do specifically in LA County. I'm going to say to you generally, there's information available to you that's available for public, and there's other information you subscribe to, MLS, public records, and you got to find a way to put that information together in a way that's usable for you. Okay, Vince, thank you for contact info. I think that's it for today. I don't see any other hands up. I don't see any other questions that I've not answered or done my best to try to answer. Last call. I'll just do a quick run through before we finish up here. This is Probate Mastery, and you go to probatemastery.com, and if you go to the front of the website, there's 3 different paths. There's a basics path, there's a certification path, and there's courses and bundles. And I would urge you all. I think, I often hear from real estate agents, I'm certified. And I think that to me demonstrates a lack of understanding of the goal. You're really not certified in this. Nobody cares if you have a certification. Maybe one attorney out of 10 will. But certifications really are classes that gave you a certain amount of learning and education. And I know agents will say, well, I was certified 5 years ago by such and such program. Great. But some things have changed and you also forgot a lot of it and you only heard it once. And so I would urge you to look at your education as a process. The most valuable asset in your business is you for most of us. It's not like we're buying equipment that's worth millions of dollars. You're worth millions of dollars. So you want to educate yourself. So there's a lot of free information. I would urge you to get all that. And another way to find the free education is on the Facebook group, Estate Professionals Mastermind. And then separately, I host probateweekly.com. Love to have you join us, probateweekly.com. And I have a Facebook group, Probate Weekly, as well. And you can ask questions there, referrals, attorneys, post your content. This is interesting. I did this last week. This attorney who won an elder law case where a woman signed her grant deed while she was in the rehab center and was cheated by a real estate investor. And the attorney helped her get a settlement, I think, for $4 million. Not settlement, a judgment. So kind of exciting. Okay, good. Hey, thanks everybody. I think we wrapped up today. If I can help you, I'm Bill Gross at Bill Gross Probate on social media. You can find me in Probate Weekly or in the State Mastermind as well. Thanks for joining us. We do this every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time, and everything in between. And I appreciate you guys' time today. Thank you so much.